Howdy folks, welcome to Final Fantasy Friday here at Rudros Entertainment. As it's the start of a new year, I thought it would be a good time to look at the game as a whole. What do you love? What do you hate? This week, what are your top 10 least favorite things about Final Fantasy TCG? What is the worst stuff? Next week will be the top 10 favorite things, so make sure to tune into that one to get all the positive goodness. But for now, what leaves a sour taste in your mouth? Here are my top 10 worst aspects of Final Fantasy TCG currently, in no particular order. Dishonorable Mention, the art. While some of the art is undeniably gorgeous, too much is based on fuzzy screenshots and characters posing against blank backgrounds. As a massive fan of the games, this didn't overly bother me, but it does drive away potential new players. Playing at my Lorcana locals this week, wielding a Final Fantasy TCG mat, my opponent stated that he looked into the game a little but was immediately turned off by the artwork and decided not to purchase any cards. When games like Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Lorcana, and others have completely original artwork with more cards released in each set, Final Fantasy still holding on to so much game grab art is a misfire. Number 10. The amount of bad cards in each set. Most Final Fantasy sets clock in at around 130 cards. This is much lower than games like Magic and Lorcana, where sets tend to have around 200 cards, sometimes even more for some of the bigger Magic sets. Granted, bigger is not always better, and Final Fantasy would be perfectly at home with less cards if they were impactful. However, Final Fantasy sets regularly are filled with filler cards, draft-only cards, cards with little or no text, or cycles of cards that every element has their own version of. I get it, it's unrealistic to expect every card in a set to be a banger, but there are far too many cards that zero effort seems to have gone into, with examples such as the Blank Onion Knight from Opus 21, or the Desh from the same set. Number 9. Underdeveloped jobs and categories. This is one of Final Fantasy's best features, and it falls on its face regularly. Categories and the underexplored title format come the closest to making you feel like you are playing one of the video games. However, several categories barely get any attention at all, while others are completely oversaturated. Promising job ideas such as monks, Class 0 cadets, and dancers are often given one piece of support, only to be abandoned for several sets after. And with so many filler cards in each set, it would be nice to see some of those slots regularly dedicated to different jobs to at least increase the number of options you have, which only seems to occur if you are Dragoons. But even those minor fixes don't address or keep job decks relevant in the current game, with Dragoons still relying on an Opus 10 backup and Opus 3 forward to make that deck even functional. Number 8. Character and summon selection. Tying in with the previous point, the character and summon selection is plagued with all the exact same issues. Certain characters are jammed down your throat, while others require missing posters to be plastered on milk cartons to find them. Stalwarts like Cloud and Lightning have a combined 35 cards between them, while Dr. Tot, Zorn and Thorn, and the entire Tantalus gang have yet to see the light of day. Tidus and Yuna have 27 cards together, while just as important party members, Auron and Kimahri, only have 10 total. The same summons are reused ad nauseum. Look, I love Shiva, Bahamut, Ifrit, Ramuh as much as anyone. I love all of those summons. But Category 6 alone has several summons without a single card, such as Shote, Palador, and Madawin, who is Terra's father. That's a very important character in the game. Tying power to a character is also bad for the game. Why does every Zidane card have insane text? Why is every Steiner terrible? Number 7. EX Bursts. Uncontrollable luck that no one knows is coming, EX Bursts continue to give away games to players who otherwise would have lost them. Hopefully, the few tepid attempts at dealing with them in the form of 4 Opus 21 cards is a sign that some actual counterplay is coming to this obscene mechanic, but please see this video for an even further breakdown of this wretched feature. Number 6. The speed of the game. The mid-range section of the game has been gutted out entirely for a game unrecognizable since the Worlds competition in 2019. Aggressive decks are so imposing that you can lose the game in as quickly as 2 to 3 turns, and setup/control decks have become so efficient and pushed that they will permanently outvalue you by turn 4. While aggro is often lamented by the community, it feels a terrible necessity currently, especially when any Wind X deck can have you locked out of the game earlier and earlier. When I started playing, aggro decks usually won around turn 5, mid-range could win around turn 5 to turn 10, and control decks didn't have inevitability online until around turn 10. Even worse is that the game doesn't always even end by turn 4 physically, only in every other sense that matters, so you're forced to continue to play a game that has actually ended several turns prior. Ugh. Number 5, lack of a ban list. To this day, Hobby Japan is incredibly reluctant to ban or limit cards in the game. The few ban announcements we do get are accompanied by apologies, even though every ban has only made the game more enjoyable to play. There is no shame in banning cards, and it often brings in players or brings players back who were sick of the current metagame. Especially in an Eternal format, there are far too many cards to keep track of to foresee every possible combination. A reluctance to ban Legends also hamstrings design, since the rarity of a card should have zero factor on whether it's too powerful or not. If the card should be banned, it should be banned, regardless of what the rarity is. Number 4, bland game design. With only one new card type introduced since the game's beginning, which was Monsters and Opus 4, the game has struggled to find new ways to create interaction. Enter the field effects dominate play, as do the more modern zero-cost action abilities. New ideas such as crystals and warp are released with such trepidation that they fail to overtake cards that are already proven and competitive. Removal has not kept up with the pace of forward efficiency. I'm still expected to pay 7 on a backup Shantoto to clear the board when my opponent vomits out another 3 forwards on the next turn for half the price. While some seem to be excited for the limit break mechanic due out in the next set, I'll be surprised if it's anything more than the standard element variety fare that we've come to know. Now, instead of playing a fire forward that deals 10k to a chosen forward on entry, now you meet a condition, and then you do 10k to a chosen forward on entry. Please prove me wrong, Square Enix. Number 3, lack of community voice. This might be different in other regions, but speaking from North America, I don't feel like anything I or the community wants actually matters to the company. Business 101 is being able to influence a company with your wallet. If they aren't making decisions you like, you don't give them your money. But with Square Enix, I'm not sure that would even bother them. The Final Fantasy community has long since carried most of the game on their back, which is frankly sad, and should not, let me repeat that, should not be an acceptable, normal practice. And while I get frustrated with the Final Fantasy community's near refusal to be openly critical of all aspects of the game, there are many times I wonder if it would even make a difference. Number 2, lack of marketing/advertising. Final Fantasy has a card game? The age-old joke is equal parts funny and depressing. The game is notoriously under-advertised, if it's even advertised at all. It's clear the company views the game as part of their merchandise line. It's likely not more than 1% of their overall profit line, being a video game company first. So even if the game tanked, failed, and didn't sell a single dime anymore, would Square Enix even care? Expectation is the root of all heartbreak, so perhaps it falls on me for foolishly wishing for a reality that will never come to pass. But it still makes me sad every time I go to a game shop and I see the shelves lined with One Piece and Lorcana and Yu-Gi-Oh!, etc., with no Final Fantasy sitting up there beside it. Oh, what could have been. And number 1, lack of support from the company. Wrapping it all up with a nice big bow, the lack of support from Square Enix or Hobby Japan themselves is downright shameful. There is no judge program. 3 strikes, you're out. There is nothing outside of Japan for the game during the pandemic, despite other card games offering support. 3 strikes, you're out. Many game rulings have to come from asking questions on Twitter, which are sometimes wrong and have to be challenged, since there still has not been an update or a revamp to the rules. 3 strikes, you are out. This list of things they dropped the ball on is a mile long, and I could spend the rest of YouTube eternity just covering that. This, more than anything else, contributed to the death of my personal locals and many players who used to play, abandoning the game knowing it's never going to change. And that was my top 10 worst list. Did I leave something off the list? Something on here you disagree with? Let me know in the comments below. Look forward to the top 10 best list next week. Please like, subscribe, and hit the notification button for more Final Fantasy videos just like this every Friday. We are so close to 1,000 subs, and your help in reaching that goal is greatly appreciated. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, take care.